take a bullet from your magazine and put it in your pocket. I'm going to take as many of them down as I can, and then this baby is going to take care of me. That is a chilling, literally life or death command from a young police cadet named Alex Scampa. Just imagine for a second being a student thrust right onto a battlefield, facing down heavy armor, and realizing you have to save one final bullet for yourself so you aren't captured by an angry mob. It's an incredibly intense moment, and it perfectly sets the high stakes for what we're going to unpack today.
Welcome back, everyone. Today, we've got an absolutely thrilling explainer lined up for you. We are diving deep into Julian Baba's intense novel, Collateral Duty. This is a story that throws us headfirst into a rapidly escalating civil conflict in 1997 Albania. We're going to explore how a group of young, totally inexperienced police cadets are suddenly pushed to the front lines of a collapsing society, and we'll look at the tactical, the political, and really the deeply human decisions they're forced to make. It's a fascinating, honestly terrifying scenario, so let's just get right into it.
Okay, Section 1, the spark, the academy and the rivalry. What's brilliant about how this story unfolds is that the chaos actually kicks off not on a battlefield, but inside a police academy gym. We have some core dynamics to follow here. On one side, there's our protagonist, Alex. He's highly competent, he's grounded, and deeply strategic. Right across from him is his bitter rival, Demir, a cadet who is self-serving, manipulative, and prioritizing his own ego over the team. But, the rivalry isn't just between the students. We've got Colonel Bato, an honorable protective mentor trying to guide these cadets, contrasted really sharply with General Baina, the corrupt academy director. These are exactly the types of contrasting leadership styles you'd expect in a real-world crisis, and we're going to see how they actually hold up when the bullets start flying for real. Moving on to Section 2, a nation in collapse, the macro crisis. Before we put these cadets under fire, we really need to zoom out to understand the rapidly deteriorating historical environment around them. So how did things get this bad? Well, months prior to our story, massive, nationwide pyramid schemes collapse. This completely devastates the civilian population, literally wiping out their life savings. The public is rightfully enraged, and this leads to armed civilian uprisings. People start raiding military depots, stealing weapons, even tanks. The government just completely loses control of the situation, which brings us to the present day of our story, where the president is forced to declare a national state of war and impose a strict curfew. Now, as if a total domestic collapse isn't enough for the government to handle, consider this number, 1. Just 1. Intelligence in the source material suggests that at least one Greek army division is sitting on standby at the southern border. They are just waiting for the perfect moment to intervene, maybe under the guise of a peacekeeping mission, but potentially to annex southern territory. So the geopolitical stakes here couldn't possibly be higher. They aren't just fighting an uprising, they're fighting for national sovereignty. Right, let's head into Section 3, the match, the bodyguard assignment. Because the nation's security apparatus is falling apart, our academy students are recruited for a highly sensitive assignment to protect a targeted politician named Mr. Spada. And at the center of this assignment is a vital cultural anchor called Besa. It's a sacred traditional Albanian oath of honor and trust. Colonel Bato tasked Alex and his friends with this because the politician's own allies have abandoned him. Bato invokes this concept of Besa, a sacred promise to protect someone with your own life. It binds Alex's team to their VIP. I want you to keep this concept in the back of your mind because it is going to contrast so sharply with the terrible betrayals we're going to see very shortly. Well, that promise of protection is immediately put to the test. While escorting Mr. Spalta home in the dark, the convoy is suddenly ambushed by a hail of gunfire from about 150 yards away. Now, while the head bodyguard is just indiscriminately firing his pistol, and the other cadets are spraying their AK-47s in a full auto panic, Alex actually spots tracer bullets. He immediately takes command. He orders his team to stop panic firing, switch to controlled semi-automatic bursts, and aim specifically at the source of those tracers to lay down effective cover fire. Thanks to Alex's incredible natural combat leadership under pressure, they actually secure the VIP inside the house. It's a total masterclass in staying grounded during a crisis. Where panic dictates a full auto spray, Alex uses strategic, controlled suppression. Which brings us to Section 4, deployed into the dark. The powder keg explodes. The crucial takeaway here is how terrifyingly fast the relative safety of the capital city is shattered. Just hours after that assassination attempt, the cadets are unexpectedly deployed into active conflict zones. Just look at this time frame. In the afternoon, these kids are competing in a martial arts tournament. By evening, they survive an assassination ambush. By midnight, a state of war is declared. And at 4 a.m., they are dragged out of bed, loaded into military trucks, and deployed south directly into hostile rebel territory without even being told where they're going. They went from mock combat to a real, unpredictable war zone essentially overnight. And guys, the mismatch here is just stunning. On one side, our cadets are given stale bread, they're wearing thin police raincoats, and unbelievably, they're handed AK-47s, initially without ammunition to prevent accidental discharges on the ride down. On the other side, the rebel militias they're facing have stolen military tanks, heavy .50 caliber machine guns, and endless caches of stolen ammunition. The sheer absurdity of sending ill-equipped academy students to face off against heavily armored militias is just mind-blowing. So let's get into Section 5, Betrayal on the Battlefield. The explosion. Driving in covered trucks so they don't provoke the locals, these naive cadets are inevitably ambushed on the treacherous mountain roads near Delvina and Saranda. And remember that concept of BESA we talked about? Well, here's where it gets completely shattered. As gunfire erupts and the students are pinned down, General Benna, the corrupt academy director who led them into this trap, he jumps into one of the only escaping trucks. He straight up flees the battlefield. He completely abandons his young students to die in the crossfire. It's just the ultimate betrayal of leadership and trust. Moving to Section 6, the hilltop standoff, the fallout. Abandoned, outgunned, and facing a massive rebel force, Alex realizes they are sitting ducks at the bottom of the valley, so he and a small group of volunteers make a desperate play for the high ground. Let's break down Alex's tactical decisions here because they are incredibly grounded. Step 1, they climb the hill and secure old military foxhole trenches to gain a vantage point. Step 2 is honestly harrowing. They spot two 10 to 12-year-old kids approaching with hidden AK-47s, scouting for the rebels. Rather than shooting, Alex bravely stands up, exposes his position, and verbally repels the armed children without using lethal force. Step 3, when the adult rebels finally try to flank them, Alex organizes his squad to use single-shot cover fire to suppress the attack, conserving what little ammunition they have. But, small arms tactics only get you so far when the ground literally begins to tremble. Through the smoke, 2 rebel tanks roll out, turn their turrets toward the hill, and unleash a deafening hail of heavy .50 caliber machine gun fire right on the stranded students. The sheer helplessness of this moment in the source material is palpable. The students are completely outmatched, pinned down, and staring death right in the face. And wow, this brings us right back to our cold open. As the tanks bear down, and remembering that rebel mobs had recently burned intelligence officers alive, Alex looks at a squad. He tells them to take 1 bullet out of their magazines and put it in their pockets. He completely accepts his likely death, preferring to take his own life rather than fall into the hands of the mob. It hits you with this immense emotional weight. These are just students, pushed to the absolute brink of human endurance. But Alex doesn't just sit there waiting to die. Oh no, realizing they're cut off from the main group below, he risks everything. He leaps from the trenches and zigzags downhill under a massive barrage of machine gun fire to reconnect with Colonel Bato. And miraculously, he actually makes it. Down below, a local military major manages to negotiate a fragile temporary ceasefire with the rebels. But the mob is furious. They're violently chanting for blood revenge. Using this really tense momentary distraction, Colonel Bato hurries the surviving cadets into the single remaining, barely functioning truck, and they just floor it up the mountain to escape. You'd probably think that's the end of the nightmare, right? Well, the source text delivers one final, incredibly tragic punch. As the truck zigzags up this treacherous mountain road to safety, they pass what looks like a school. Standing there is a group of young kids. Alex waves to them, just trying to show they mean no harm. In response, these young children raise AK-47s and open fire on the escaping truck. It is a terrible, somber reminder of the total tragic collapse of this society. The infection of war has spared absolutely no one, not even the youth. Which leaves us with this final, really profound question. When the structures of government and trust completely collapse, what collateral duty do we owe to each other? Julian Biba's novel shows us that in the absence of order, literally all you have left is the person standing next to you. Do you act like the cowardly General Becana, or do you hold the line like Alex Scampa? It's a brilliant exploration of loyalty under fire. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking the hard questions, and I'll see you next time.